to remind everyone that as of this moment, we will be recording, and this will be on YouTube before the end of the evening. Okay, so we're probably going to go faster than, I mean, we'll go. Sam knows how to teach this stuff. If you need to watch it again, it will be on YouTube tonight. Okay, so we cool, Sam? We need to know how to do a neighborhood nurture, and we need to know how to have a dialogue around the mobile app.
Cool.
So with that said, the participants in the room today, with the exception of Luth, who is my assistant and longtime assistant, who's checking us out today, are relatively new. Like most everyone is like 6 months or less, and Julian's been with us for a year or two. So
Julian's the man.
Yes, and Julian's been on like the tech task force on the regional level and all that. So walk us through what's the deal with command? Why is it important? How should we use it? It's so overwhelming at the beginning. It works some days, it doesn't work other days. Will you convince people by the end of this call that what they need to be focused on as a relatively new agent with respect to command, please?
Yeah. So
right, the floor is yours.
I wish I had the insight of Gary Keller, specifically Gary Keller. I mean, Josh Team is a pretty smart guy. If you don't know him, like he graduated high school at like 12 and has like 1,000 degrees. Is brilliant. But yeah, Gary Keller is always ahead of the game. Like he always seems to have a complete wherewithal of where the real estate industry and really most importantly, where consumers are going to be 5 years in advance. I think that's probably why he's a billionaire. But what we did is we realized that about 5 years ago, and like this is really how old command is. Publicly speaking, command is probably about a year and a half old is when we officially released it to the general public. And as Bill mentioned, as a team leader in Pittsburgh, I had kind of like advanced access to command. I've been using it since its inception. But Gary had the foresight to say that 5 years ago, he realized that there was a shift in the real estate industry coming. And you'll see this. You may see like still some hints of this inside of KW. Like how many have ever logged into mykw.kw.com? Does that look like a website that's created like 1990? Like it just looks like an old funky DOS-like website. That's kind of the example of the technology that we had. And it was just a cool tool with links that took us places. But really what was there was just a bunch of links that took us to vendor partners that kind of controlled our technology. And I'm speaking about Keller Williams, our personal experience, but this goes on everywhere at Berkshire Hathaway, Century 21. But what was happening is that real estate brokerages, companies, were buying what we call off-the-shelf technology. For us, we're using companies like Market Leader and we're using Playster for our website. We were using another company for our app, and we were just using all this different technology off the shelf from different companies. The challenge is whenever you purchase something off the shelf, you're not creating it. And if you want something done to that technology, you have to reach out to that technology company and they'll make that adjustment for you if they can. It depends on how many other competitors are using that. And then they often charge you a premium to make that change happen. And a lot of you, like there's a lot of like top agents that still do this. They'll pay for things outside of command. And then like they'll pay Commissions Inc. for the database. Then they'll pay Commissions Inc. for the appointment setting. And then for the leads on the marketing and marketing. And all this thing adds up and they're spending about 20% of their dollar just goes to these technology companies. Gary Keller first saw the problem and like, okay, there's a huge cost with that. It's just stupid to give away 20% off of every dollar that we give or that we pay to. And the other thing too is that when you take a look at just technology in general, and I'm speaking very broadly, he looked at companies like Amazon and Netflix and Uber and realized that those companies aren't paying Market Leader, Commissions Inc., Boomtown, or some other company to do those things. Like they built their technology. And that's why that even though most of those haven't turned a profit, with the exception of Amazon, their valuations in the billions of dollars or tens of billions of dollars, even though like they haven't really accomplished the revenue part of that. There was a weird shift, and you can actually kind of blame Jeff Bezos. And I promise I'll get off the technology part here in a minute. But we can blame Jeff Bezos. He was one of the first people that said, hey, I'm going to go public with this company. And I want you to buy my stock because I'm actually going to just completely disrupt retail as we know. I'm going to disrupt online shopping as we know it. And at that time, like Amazon was still kind of like selling books and like knickknacks. They weren't like the company they were back then. And what happened is that he was the first person really to ever convince venture capitalists to invest in a company that had zero profit, knowing that he had the right platform, I'm going to use that word, platform, in place to disrupt an entire industry and clean it out like the way he did currently. And now we're starting to see that in all types of different industries. So Uber, for an example, that is a company, I don't have the exact number, but they're valuated at like 12 to 15 billion dollars. Zero profit. Can you believe that? Uber, zero profit. But they're valued, if they wanted to sell out, they'd be valued about, I don't know, $12 billion, or the number is. And we're seeing this happen now, that big venture capitalists are taking bets on companies thinking they can disrupt like Amazon did. And let's be real, Uber, they did disrupt the transportation industry, and they're going to be profitable. They will be the Amazon of ride sharing eventually.
Hey, Sam, I just looked up, by the way, the
What is it?
estimate as of December,
It's 80, isn't it? It's huge.
the December 2nd estimate for Uber, according to Google, is over $93 billion.
Okay, I was way off then. I said what, 15? Yeah.
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 No profit.
No profit.
That's Uber?
Uber. $90 billion, and they have not profited. That's like playing with Monopoly money, essentially. That's
time. Uber's good. There'll be a time when Uber, you're like, hey, I'm going to the beach today. I want the, automated car to take me to pick me up in a red Mustang. Oh, I'm taking my family down to Florida. I'm going to need a little bit of extra room for luggage. So I don't think people will own cars in 10, 15 years. They'll just, the automated Uber will show up at their door, whatever kind of car, color, type, gas mileage you want. I guess gas mileage won't be so important. It'll just pick you up and go. Now, the reason why I want to add one more thing here is, guys, we're having a business conversation because we're in business.
Yeah, I'll give the
right?
tech, but we're having a business conversation. Yeah.
Right. We have to understand how our business is evolving. I mean, some of these things, like Sam mentioned in our little promo yesterday, Zillow is coming to town. Like, things are not going to be the same as they are today in a month. Like, we have to pay attention to what's going on in the greater community so we can serve our people properly.
Well, let's stick with that analogy then with Uber then, Bill. I think you brought up a good point. So is anyone an Uber driver or Lyft driver? Anyone ever do that? Okay. Yeah. Okay. Don't take offense to this, but
Well, I used to be
on Uber.
doing real estate because I don't have time for Uber right now.
Perfect. Great answer. Great answer.
Venus is about to take this industry by storm. She ain't got
Yes,
So
sir.
good. So Bill just mentioned that there is a day that I'll be able to open up my Uber app and conjure up a red Mustang to pick me up without a driver. Because what's the worst part of the Uber experience? It's the driver. It's the human, right? It's the same thing that was wrong with the taxi industry. Half the time you got in a cab, it smelled like a fart, or like a fart with like weird car spray on top of it. It was terrible. Uber is very clear that they are working towards removing the drivers from the vehicle. Now, Venus, imagine working for a company who very clearly wants to get rid of you. Meanwhile, how much did you sacrifice as an Uber driver? One, safety,
Right.
huge. Hours, probably doing things a ridiculous amount at the time at night. And then also, how much of like personal wear and tear did you put in your own personal like vehicle?
Wow. Yes.
And you're sacrificing those things for a brand that ultimately wants to get rid of you.
Right.
Now, the reason why I wanted to bring up the valuation of Uber, Bill, go ahead and do the same thing with Zillow. What are they worth?
I'm going to guess around 25 million or 25 billion. Let's see what
The
happens.
last time I looked, it was like 44. But then again, I was way off with Uber.
I'm finding all these articles from Zillow, which they want to state their own value. Hang on. Give me a second.
Okay.
You keep going.
Yeah,
Can I ask you a question while you're waiting for that? I mean, isn't that the future of every company, is to get rid of the humans?
Potentially.
People?
Yes, potentially. And that's why it's so important that we get in front of our clients and we build personal relationships. Because the one thing that Zillow cannot replace is that personal touch. And we know, according to NAR, and I always go on screen, I'm not a magician, but I went into my trap door. NAR pulls out this huge book of stats every single year. They evaluate buyers and sellers. And what's funny is that the last time I paid for this was in 2018. the numbers have been historically the same forever. It's like 9% of for sale by owners ever convert, and half of those end up using, you know, a real estate agent. And, you know, but all the stats are literally the same year after year after year. We know what consumers look for in a real estate agent that's not going to be replaced by Zillow.
It's
What
just
will
shy of
happen?
33 billion.
33 billion. Another company, zero profit. Just like Uber, zero profit. Now we can all agree that Zillow is a big threat, just the same way that Uber is to the taxi industry. They're coming into real estate, Zillow is, and they're going to try and wipe us out. Now, let me play this hypothetical with you. I promise we'll get to tech, but I think it's important to understand why this is so important. Not in our office, but let's pretend Harry Norman. Let's pretend that this is in a Harry Norman office, not one of ours. You guys know some new agents, right? Let's assume that a family who is out of town from Chicago is in Atlanta for just today. They have 4 hours to go look at properties. They walk into the office of Harry Norman and they say, find me an agent who will go show me houses. I'll pay them $25 just to go open up 4 doors for me. Would there be an agent who would do that?
Yes.
$20.
Yes.
$10.
I hope not.
Okay. We'll draw the line at 20. So $20, $20 and we'll go open up. So that's $5 a door. Okay. Fast forward 4 months, same family walks to the door and says, we already have the house that we want to pick out. I just need an agent to process paperwork for me. And that's it. I don't need an agreement. I just need someone to fill out the paperwork. Can you find me someone who would do it for $1,000?
For sure.
$750.
Yep.
$500.
Yep.
It is the holidays. I'm going to ask $200.
Unfortunately, yes. I think somebody would do that for 200.
I'm not going to go any lower because it's going to create anxiety for me. So let's just say $200. What we just realized, has anyone in the room, I know we're all new agents, anyone have a commission check yet?
Julian's had one. Ebony's had a couple little ones, right?
Okay. On average, across our 3 market centers, we're about $10,000 per commission check. That's a pretty great thing. We just realized that the real value of real estate agent is $2,020. Excuse me, $220. I add an extra zero in there. $220 to go open up 4 houses and to fill out paperwork. The real estate agent won't go away. The commissions attached to the real estate agent will. When we look at Zillow, this is the exact model that they are going after. They are hiring employees who have real estate licenses. And when you own employees, you own what their tasks are. And it doesn't matter what a commission is because we're not paying commissions, we're paying them a crappy salary. That's the threat. And then you're going to have to fight with your consumers that say, why on earth would I pay you 3% for my listing or 6% of my listing when I can just go list it with Zillow and it's going to cost me $2,500 or worse, $300. That's the battle that we have right now, that we need to use a piece of technology that will fight Zillow. And let me simplify this race for you really, really quickly.
While you're doing that, there's a quote about Gary Keller that Gary Keller said that I love, which is, you will not be replaced by technology. However, you will be replaced by the agent who is embracing and has mastered technology.
Absolutely.
So there will be parts of the job that go away because the machine will do it. And because the machine is doing part of the job, the commission will be pressured downward. There's no doubt about that. 10 years from now, we will not be making 3% on a deal. I promise you. Okay.
Start focusing on listings too, because Gary has also predicted that buyer's agents will eventually disappear.
Interesting.
All right. So kind of have 2 sections here. There we go. We're out of focus. So up here at the top, we have KW and we have Remax. The only reason why I am mentioning these 2 companies are they are the 2 leaders in agent count. These 2 brokerages make up the majority of offices, or make up the majority of agent count across the US. KW is really number 1. Before KW took over that spot, Remax had that position for a number of years, but KW holds the triple crown, which is actually fitting for my shirt. I wore that today. On the bottom of this, here's the other contender in the race. We mostly have Zillow. They're the leading competitor. Sorry, trying to bring that close. My handwriting's terrible. We have Zillow. And then underneath that, I have Compass and Redfin. These are companies who are technology companies that are disguised as brokerages, just like Zillow. is today. And the race is that KW has the agents and we are racing to adopt technology. Zillow has the technology. They are racing to get agents. So we are in kind of like a tug of war. KW needs to get our agents to embrace technology before Zillow gets their technology in the hands of agents. Which basically means that as Zillow enters the true brokerage world starting next month, 2 weeks, in Atlanta and Phoenix, that race has officially started. In fact, I mean, I would say that we've had a head start. We're kind of moving forward, but we're officially in this pivotal moment in which we are going head to head with Zillow, and we need to get adoption of Command for both our agents. And then that also means that we need to get your consumers on the Command platform and off of Zillow. And I would, it's an honorable mention. I would mention Compass. I would mention Redfin too. Redfin's actually kind of sneaky. Who's aware of Redfin? Redfin's been the only company that's ever made a dent on Zillow's search website. Consumers do like the Redfin website. They will go there sometimes over Zillow. So that's the war at stake. This is why it is so important to get in Command. We're not just saying that because it's our website and our tool. This is something that Gary Keller's been working on for the 5 years because he saw the trees through the forest, unlike other brokerages like Coldwell Banker and Century 21, who decided to rebrand and throw a new logo that looked fun and hip versus investing in technology. You're going to see pretty much 2 competitors left, maybe 3, by the end of this war that we're in with technology and agents. That's going to get a pretty small group of people who are left standing.
Sam, I have a question.
Yes,
So
go ahead.
what is the purpose of other agents signing with Zillow if we all do all of this for commission? And if, of course, we do it for other reasons, but at the end of the day, it's commission. Why would you go with a company or be a Zillow agent to where somebody would pay you $200 for a transaction when you literally can be like, you can work anywhere and get the same 200? Like, why go through all the scrutiny? I just don't, I don't understand where as an agent, and if you can think, you don't even have to be that, or just as a human, you don't have to be that intelligent.
I was gonna say, I'll pass it to Bill. I'd love to hear Bill's take on that.
Can I add to her question before you answer that too?
Please.
Because Zillow contacted me and their offer was to be a Zillow Premier agent, I think it's called. They, and outside of the general Atlanta area, because they have contracts for that, but you would, be the next, whenever somebody call a Zillow sign, you would be the agent that they contact, but they didn't say, I mean, you still make your regular commission. They didn't say, you just pay them a monthly fee, but it would still be the same commissions play. So I'm confused on that as well.
Here's the thing, guys. And then I'm going to let Sam take over some of the fine details. But the magic word in this business is control. It's all about control. Control of the data, control of your income opportunity, control of your time opportunity, control of what levels of advancement you have for equity, ownership, leadership. It's all about control. There are many, many people, maybe somebody even in this room, that they're having a hard time doing the work that's required to build a business. It's not easy, as many of us have seen. And therefore, people are willing to pay for the easy button. And I'm not making any judgments on that. But if I was to hand you a ready, willing, and able buyer, would you pay $1,000 for it? Would you pay $1,500 for it? Would you pay $1,800 for it? Would you pay $2,700 for it? Like, at some point we'd stop, but we'd go pretty high, I bet. It would look kind of very interesting. We ought to try that. But a lot of agents will pay, relocation agents are paying near 50% for a lead right now. And they get no branding like they would on a team. They get no marketing, no admin, nothing. And they're paying 50%. Okay, so you ask, why would they do it? Because sometimes they'll do just about anything to avoid picking up the damn telephone.
Can I give my non-PC version of that?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think a lot of people desire to get into real estate because it offers flexibility and freedom. And a lot of times they've had a nice long career in corporate America and never broke the chains of it. So that's why you see them landing at a place like a traditional brokerage, because it feels like a job. You dangle the carrot of, hey, you know, there is an opportunity to make a lot of commission and you have the flexibility, but essentially you're just going to work for somebody that has happened to be a real estate brokerage.
Right. And they walk in the door and they say, oh, I'm here for freedom and flexibility. And then the first thing out of their mouth is, where are my leads? I'm like, whoa, we got a problem here. Somebody's miscommunicated. You need to go fish. That's how you can control how many fish you catch. If you're not interested in controlling the flow of the leads, you're only going to make what your boss tells you can make. Okay, so the first 30 minutes of our session, we'll conclude as a tech intro / lecture from Sam and I.
I think it's really important, though, to understand the why behind this.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be days, and honestly, I haven't spent a lot of time in command so far today. It's going to break. It's absolutely going to break. It almost always breaks whenever I teach class. I think that command and I have a fun relationship. But I think when you understand the bigger picture of why it's so important to be in there and do what we're doing, it's okay to deal with those hiccups as they come around. It's okay to figure out, okay, when this entire thing that I use my business in is not working this week, and I have to get creative and find a workaround and still stick in the system, it's important to be driven by that why and why it's so important. Because if we don't, and we abandon and we go do someone else's technology, we're just feeding the battle that we're in right now.
Can I just add one more? Can I put a bow on our topic?
Bill, you and I feel like we just need a podcast that we can talk about this
we
separately.
We probably do need a podcast. Okay, do y'all know what Reology is?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, Reology is the parent company of Coldwell Banker, Century 21, ERA, Barbara Corcoran's company, which is big in the Northeast, and
Better Homes and Gardens.
Better Homes and Gardens, and NRT, which is a big company outside of the Georgia area. And what was the last one?
Sotheby's.
Sotheby's International. Okay. Do you guys want to take a guess at what the market cap for that umbrella company is? 1.7 billion.
What's that mean, Bill?
What that means is that they're not a data company and they're not a technology company. So they're essentially worthless.
And their stock is now worth about less than a cup of coffee. It might be on the dollar menu now.
Well, I tell you,
it was under 3 at one point
because I've been cleaning out, what do you call it? Reology companies for the last 6 years. Yet it used to be $5 a share. It's actually tripled this year.
Oh, has it? Okay.
Yeah. However,
good for them. They still have $4 billion in debt.
I think it's actually closer to 7 billion.
Okay.
So, all right, Sam and I are going to be naming our podcast. Just throw out your suggestions.
Yeah.
Luth, I found some.
We need to do that, Bill. Like I've been thinking of wanting to get on one of those, but no, I think we have a good partnership.
All right.
Real estate talk with Sam and Bill.
So with that said, guys, is the tech is where it's at. It's all about data. So, all right, Sam, you're in charge. I'll shut my mouth.
Cool. So to circle back on what Bill had practiced, what we need to make sure that you guys are all familiar with getting in today. And we're going to get into getting your app in the hands of the consumers, because we just, like, you guys have not been in the business long enough